Welcome again to another
Wait,
one of these.
no, maybe no. Yeah, no.
Maybe no?
Yep.
All right. Welcome to another one of these. It's me and Steftro again. Well, hi, Steftro. How are you doing, man?
Hello. I'm okay.
Well, how was your
How are
day?
you?
What happened? What happened today to you?
A lot of nothing happened. It was a great day.
Do you still go to work or do you stay home?
I go to work to stay home there.
Right. That's a good way to put it. No, I used to do this. When I remember when I was in Sofia, I used to go sometimes to the office on the weekend because I liked the place, but I didn't like the people. So I liked it. I liked the place when it was empty. That was like ideal for me. I was like,
Yeah.
look at this huge space, and there's free coffee, and and it's nice. And I would walk around, and I would book a room for myself, and oh my God, it's free because there's no one here. So I would go there, and I would stay there and write on the board. I used to write there on the weekends, like jokes and stuff. Yeah, I mean, you got to have a space. Do you do this? Do you have like a special routine or not a routine, but that's not a good word, but like a ritual when you write something or when you come up with any ideas, even when you work? Like, do you do something physically or uh, you know what I mean? Like a kind of a tick or something? Do you have something like that?
um, sure, yeah, maybe sometimes I write on paper. Do you mean that? What do you mean?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, for example, I find it interesting. I sometimes like to walk around. Like I like to go up, get up, and walk around.
Ah.
I don't know. It's like the fidget spinner, right? You do something like monotonous, simple activity. For some reason, it helps you concentrate on something. I don't know,
Ah.
or maybe moves the blood around my butt. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, guys, let me tell you this. For those of you who are watching this, yesterday we tried this for the first time, and whatever happened happened. Whatever happened yesterday, it was yesterday. But now with these disease and everything, you just learn that things pass quickly, and the next day gives you another chance at life. So that's why we do it again
Quick,
today.
quickly.
And if anyone of you is watching, if you guys have any questions, you can type in. Steph, have a look on it because I'm not looking at it. But have a look if someone is writing, and we can address any questions, any pressing issues, because we have quite a couple pressing issues between ourselves. So if you guys have some other pressing issues, also press them against us, so that we can relieve the pressure. Um, Steph, one thing I wanted to tell you, or do you want to tell me something first?
No, there's no one listening anyways. Uh,
That's beautiful.
we have
It's one
like
of those. I really like it
infinite,
when it's, yeah, it's nice.
infinite times less
I
people in
I don't know
listening.
if I told you this, but I got this. I was walking around one day, and I see this like bookstore, and I walk in, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna buy like a uh, notebook, and I'm gonna do some doodle away with some doodling, and I'll do some drawings. And I got this, and I'm doing some drawings. I don't know why I'm doing them for no reason. I don't want to share them with anyone, but since I have you here, I'm going to show you. So I started
Sure.
doodling. And you know what? Just to tell you how I do it, and the idea is I do them randomly. I don't think about anything in particular. Like I listen to some music or something, and the idea is that I'm trying to sort of like uh, express my unconscious. And I even brought it up to my therapist, and we talk about it. And it's interesting because, like, for example, Jung was also using this with patients. It would make them draw like you have these association games, or where sometimes it's like you just close your eyes, and whatever first image comes to your mind, you just start talking about this. And you can do this by drawing stuff. So it's supposedly like you express emotions that are somewhere inside it, whatever. So let me show you some of the stuff that I drew. So you see this? I don't know if you see it.
Uh,
It's stupid. It's
Does
retarded.
it have?
It makes no sense.
No, it's will it have colors? I don't know if it have colors.
No, I
Yeah,
got
let
pencils and stuff.
me look at it more.
Okay, you tell me. There's four of them, and they get worse and worse. So
Wait. So it's 9:55 and 3. What the hell does it mean?
I don't know. I have no idea because this is the unconscious. It's the
It's
collective
pos-
unconscious.
I
It's
mean, it's
evolution of billion of years of people that have arrived at this. It's not just me.
uh,
And I wasn't
yeah,
herbally infused. I was not herbally infused. But I mean, so many years of damage.
hmm, it's interesting.
So
Yeah.
it's
Oh
interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you have the next one is this.
This looks like something from Rick and Morty.
For some reason. Okay, I think I switched between mics for a second, but yeah, this looks like Rick and Morty. You say? Okay. Then the next one gets better. You can name them.
Rick and Morty 2.
Hmm,
Jesus Christ, what the hell is this?
Let me check on my settings because it seems like I can hear you now.
Just
Different place. Just a second. My Skype settings. Because where do you?
are you sure
Wow.
it's from this mic? Just tap it or something. Tap the mic.
The mic is okay,
Mm.
but I hear you not from my headphones like I'm supposed to, but from. God damn it! Where were the settings?
It's audio, Skype settings, audio and calling.
Skype preferences. Aha, got it. Okay, hold on, just a sec.
But why did it switch? Weird. Anyway. So
It's the beard even. Okay, hold on. Say something.
something,
Say something.
something.
I can hear
You
you.
can
All
hear
right.
me now?
No, no, I
God
can
damn
hear
it.
you. Not from the headphones for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, but as long as there, if it's not like, anyway, it should be okay. So where
If
were we?
I ever start talking, you can try to fix it.
So start
While
talking
I'm
now.
talking.
This. What do you think?
It's it's amazing. But how long does it take to draw this?
I don't know, like 30, 40 minutes, some shit. And then I have one more. So this is, I don't know. This is stupid.
These are two. Or oh, it's one. Oh, it's the beach or something. Jesus.
So yeah, yeah, it's like it's foam. It's separated by the foam from the water.
I see.
This is
Hmm.
white. So I was thinking I can draw you while we're talking. And this is I'm
Sure.
gonna the unconscious. So it's not really gonna be you. It's gonna be you, but you're gonna impersonate a bunch of archetypes. If you want to do this, if you want to allow me to
Uh,
do.
that's a nice excuse for you to draw the hideous version of me. But
Yeah.
sure.
But in the meantime, see, you tell me. We had a couple of things that we left unfinished from yesterday. So I'm gonna draw you, but in the meantime, remind me what were we supposed to talk about? And you don't. And while you talk now for the next about 30, 40 minutes while I finish this, don't move at all.
Yeah, that's
Not
fine.
any move, and even don't breathe. And please remove your hand from your face. You know that the virus doesn't allow this now. And yeah, what were we supposed to talk about?
Uh, One thing was this book you were reading, so I'll talk about it, I guess.
Which one?
Uh,
Gift or
the is the gift. The other
which?
thing, the book, the gift, the Lewis Hyde book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, yeah. That's a good one.
How is it good one? I can't talk about it. uh,
Ah, okay.
I haven't read it.
How about you tell me all the things that can we can potentially discuss, and then we're gonna decide which one.
We can discuss the Witcher.
Yes,
We can discuss the virus.
yes.
Uh, we can discuss this. Do you have snow?
By the way, David. No, we don't. By the way, David just messaged me. I told him, David, we're live. You can say something. Um, he says, "Пуснах сериалче." So basically, this is this is the involvement of the old stakeholders, man. The old owners of this business.
Why am I so slow on this Witcher game? I played like for 2 days from Sunday, yesterday, and now the third day, and I just reached sixth level.
Jesus. No, I'm slow too. Like level 13, but the thing is, I don't, I just go around looking for these question marks. and
Yeah,
just
but this
start it.
kind of irritates me because back in the day when I played games, it was kind of first you didn't see the whole map. You had to
Yeah.
observe and discover stuff. Now it's
Yeah.
just like points. Just go here, go there. You
Just
just skip.
do it. Yeah.
I don't even look around anything. I just look at the map and follow some point. It's like Need for Speed. Like you go somewhere, you fight something, then you go somewhere else, you fight something. Is this the whole game, or we haven't played it? I don't know.
I
The thing
guess
is,
it changes completely afterwards, and you drive cars. No, I think that's the game, man. That's the thing. These days,
the what game I played is not very famous back before. It's similar to this one. It's what's called Arx Fatalis. It's very obscure, but it was the shit. Like there was nothing. I got stuck for weeks at some points. I had no idea what to do there. And when I discovered it, I was like, oh my god, how did I not see this? But it didn't tell you anything. You just had to read and follow the story. There were no points anywhere. It was
which year is that game released?
oh fuck, it's very old, maybe 99. Anyway, whatever the game. The thing is now games are different. I feel, and also this fucking Witcher. When I started it, I swear it was half an hour of scenes and cutscenes and
Oh,
dialogues, and I was like, I
shit,
was
man.
looking at it, and I was like, what the
I'm
hell
just
is?
because if you have to listen to all this, it's impossible. You
But
die.
it's so long. Half an hour in, I'm like watching a movie still. Anyway, but afterwards it got better. But still, I don't know. I can see why people like it, but I like it because it looks pretty nice. And but this thing is feel like it's taking a lot of the game, don't you think? Hmm. Because it doesn't feel like a game, like a game that the game that it's supposed to be, like a discovering worlds and blah blah. It feels
That's
just running after points.
we didn't talk much about it before, but that's why I really like, for example, Breath of the Wild, Zelda. Because it's really innovative and kind of creative in the way that they made it. Because every every time they release a new RPG game, every time they advertise, this one is not formulaic. This one is not straightforward. This one, it's not like just follow the story. This one is like completely you can do whatever you
They
and
call
it's
it like an open world, right?
yeah, every time it's the same. But
This one is also an open world. Everything is open world.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah.
But in Zelda, the difference is that you are limited not by level. For example, there's no levels. There's no levels. You can't hear. You don't see your own level, the enemy's level, but you know if the enemy is stronger than you or if it's weaker than you. So you like walk around and you meet a guy like an enemy that fucks you up. So you just don't go in that direction. So you
So how do so it's the items or what?
yeah, I mean, you have different things that you acquire, like more. It's also the thing about it is because it's like a franchise since the '80s, right? So it's old. So they still want to keep it like true to the original. So in the original game, you have like three hearts and like whatever, a sword and a shield. So they still keep those elements. So you still start with three hearts, and you can add hearts, and then in the end you can have like 20 whatever hearts, and then so that's one way of leveling up is hearts, and then it's the items you acquire, and then it's like the tricks you get and whatever. But I mean, it's just the same idea but concealed cleverly, so it's not so obvious and boring, and it's really nice because I don't know, it felt much different. It felt much more fluid. Like you, first of all, the stories there's like no, there's maybe two or three like legit quests, the stories, and everything else you just walk around and you discover it, and there's no signs like here in the Witcher. You
Yeah.
just walk around and you discover shit. You're like, oh, what is this? And then you talk to this person or whatever. Or you lift this rock, or you see some flowers. They're weird, and you touch them, or like you some weird interaction with different things, and then something happens. And then if you want, you explore that. And so in that sense, it's like exactly like what it, in my opinion was anyway. But The
But
Witcher.
do you get stuck at places? You know?
Oh yeah, I got stuck in one place there. I got like I
Yeah, I
had.
feel like now games are scared to make people get stuck because people will quit. you know,
You know, you
like
have a point. Remember the old days? Like, I mean, you've started with like the old school
yeah, I
platforms,
got so stuck on these Nintendo games.
right?
You had to learn it by heart every pixel where it goes.
When I was a kid, I don't even know if I beat any of them. Do you recall if do you have a memory as a kid of like
Yeah,
beat a game like with no cheats, just beating it
Yeah, yeah, of
back.
course, a lot of them. You
I
can, yeah.
didn't.
What
I
do you mean?
played many. I played many of them, and I never. A lot of them I never beat. I would get to like really far, and then I
I
wouldn't be able
beat
to.
I beat almost all of them. I mean, some of them are infinite. Wait, what, you have beat Mario? Everyone beat Mario.
No, I only did it now. I never did it as a kid.
What the hell, man?
I
Anyway, but
never was able.
what about you remember we played the Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I
Did
never
you
beat
beat?
that.
Really?
No,
Uh,
and even my favorite games,
but
like I
why?
had. What were your favorite games when you were a kid, like on the Nintendo games, like the clones that we had? Because we didn't
I
even
really
have
like,
like.
yeah, I like this Ninja Turtle, like several parts, but I really like the Jurassic Park one. I know I really like dinosaurs then. There was a Jurassic Park one, and I got stuck at it for so much. And the thing is, it was you had to read something, but it was in Japanese or something. And a friend of mine just figured it out randomly what you have to do. It was very weird.
Yeah, imagine you got to learn a language to fucking beat a
No,
game. Like,
he just tried to everything. They were like, I mean, I actually remember what he had to do because they were like, there were these computers that you apparently had to visit in order. So,
right.
so the thing is, this guy just tried every possible thing in this game, including all permutations of visiting this computer. So he kind of figured it out. But I got stuck on this for months, bro. It was, and then when he discovered it, was like some celebration. Anyway, but that, yeah, I mean, this is maybe mine, one of my favorite
I
ones.
remember one of my favorite ones was there was a Jungle Book game, like a Mowgli game.
Oh yeah, I played this. I also finished this one too. Yeah, I remember in the end there was a
I think
fire and
because many years later I've seen like videos of people beating it, so I know I was on the last
man, this
boss
game
fight.
was amazing.
But I don't remember if I killed the boss. I know that I fought him like the tiger at the end.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I ever beat him.
I remember there were
It was
some
like these
turtles.
platforms and there's some shit flying around and
Yeah, this game was really
but
nice.
these things there was so much muscle memory there. It was all about like eventually when you if you really beat it and if you beat it a few times, it's you can like you just go and you can go blindfolded and finish it because it's
Yeah,
all about the same thing. It's all pre-programmed. It's like Mario, like this enemy comes out at that particular time. It was much later when they started like experimenting like with oh now the enemies are random, but they were not random in these games, not all of them at least.
the thing is, yeah, exactly. You had to kind of acquire skills for the game. Now it's just you level up, you grind, grind, grind. It says go there, go there. It's like, okay.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. Like, why did games got easier? Like, what was the logic
I
behind it?
think
Like,
because there are many games and you can just choose
so you
anything.
think it's an advantage for a game to be easy, or what do you
Because
mean?
you don't quit it. Otherwise, you will just go to the next game. I think it's
Until
just
you
such
find the
a, yeah.
could be.
Because people like to, especially now with everything social media, they like to consume all the time something.
Yeah, that kind of like quick release. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, give
yeah,
me the
yeah.
goods immediately. I want to win. Well, anyway,
Remember, it was actually
okay,
official that.
this, see, are you seeing
Uh,
this?
yeah, I didn't know my jaw was so square, but just nice. should, should I draw you now? But I don't have anymore.
So yeah, man, but I don't know. The Witcher, it's interesting the whole lore of it, right? Because you got the books. I remember
I just wanna finish the. Remember on Candy Crush when it turned out that when you got stuck on a level, they were actually making it easy for you, like easier.
no, I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
know that.
like when you couldn't finish a level for
I never really
several
played that.
times, they were making it easier. So like when you try the third, fourth time, it's you just pass it. You're like, oh my god, I finally managed. But actually, they made it easier. So there were like so many levels there. Anyway, but whatever.
It's like in gambling. Like in game, and if you ever go to these fucking slot games and whatever online games, you have like specific algorithms that make you win
Yeah, yeah,
like on a specific way. So like
yeah,
you win a huge amount of oh my god, I won so much, and then you
yeah,
lose and lose,
yeah,
and lose, and then you win again just to hook you up again, and then you keep losing, losing, and overall, if you really calculate it, overall, you always lose, but you don't lose much. So you lose like 3% overall because they don't want to discourage
yeah,
you completely,
yeah.
and they profit off of that 33% or whatever. but that over time accumulates, and a lot of millions of
That
people
was
play.
back in the day, when there was these machines that were just there. But now all of that, I mean, a lot of that is online. So
Right.
there's this server that does whatever it wants. Like
But
they
you know,
have
because
complete
of
full
this,
control.
because you got like, responsible gambling and whatever, and you got regulations, then you got everything and licensing and fines. They are pretty obvious about it. Like you can read the terms and conditions, and it's described there. Like it's pretty. It's not. They're not trying to hide it, but people just don't care about it. Like they're people that they just want to play anyway. They just want to do it. They're like maybe I'm one of the 1% that actually wins because there's always this 1%, right, that makes some more money
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever,
that's yeah.
or maybe they hope that the I don't know that the algorithm will make a mistake or something is wrong. I don't know what they're doing, but they are aware of this and they still do it. It's like I don't know why. It's so weird to me. This is one thing I never got into. I never got into gambling. Yeah, it's not my
I
thing.
kind of did now with
I
this
in a way, yeah, but
with this fucking
I
stocks.
never did that, and I don't understand. And I don't mean to, because I know a lot of people like it, and I understand maybe a little bit when it comes to like live events, because then you have some people say when you bet on something, like it makes it more interesting. The stakes get higher to watch it if you're into sports. I kind of try to understand that, but still, it's fucking retarded to me. Like it's stupid. I don't know why that is that people do that. Like it must be some
Oh,
because it's
it's
one of the oldest professions, right? It's like horse, right? I mean,
mm,
in The Witcher, you can bet, you can play this stupid game. I don't remember what the name of it was, but like you go to any character, it's like, yeah, I want to play some cards. Like you go to some monster in the forest, yeah, I can kill you, but if you want, we can also play some
wait,
cards.
which game? You mean Witcher?
In The Witcher, there's a
Oh yeah,
in-game game. I
yeah.
forgot the
This
name of it.
Gwent. Yeah,
Gwent, yeah, whatever. So like, but I mean, in back in the day, they also had betting they had games with stakes forever.
but
So it's a thing.
that's kind of that's more close to stocks because there's no third person that wins that controls it all.
Hmm.
Because now you don't bet. It's like not you can't bet with the casino. Sure you bet, but it's always for them. I mean the stakes are in their favor always, always.
Yeah.
So but yeah.
And it's interesting though, like what makes people do that when they know that
It's like some mind adrenaline, right? You just like yeah, exactly. Like you win once and you start hoping that maybe you get
it
this boost.
could be like just the risk of doing something it's dangerous or
It's pretty
whatever.
cool. Before the market crashed, when I was waiting, I was like, damn. I mean, it felt nice. I don't know why. It's just money, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It's it feels nice, but it's at
Yeah.
least it's not gambling because stocks are a bit different. But I can
Yeah.
see why people like it kind of. It's actually included in this book. It's part of the kind. Some people, a lot of people are happy in this. Like, it's like it provides optimal experience for them because
Mhm.
they get this feedback. They believe they're getting better or whatever. It's one of the probably faker versions of happiness, but it is there. You know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, uh, yeah. What were we talking about? We talked about The Witcher
You
for.
wanted
Yeah,
to talk about The Witcher or something.
I was gonna say that. Like I remember back in the day when I was a kid, it was a big deal in Poland because it's a Polish book and everything. There was a show back in the day, like in the 19. No, it was the early 2000s. In one of the Polish televisions, like the national television, and it was like old school European TV show, but it was legit, man. It was really cool. It was like a season or two, but it was cool. Like this guy
It's
Michał
probably
Żubrowski
better than the Netflix one. But anyway.
yeah, it was really badass, and it was fine. And this guy, I don't know the full story, but I know that this guy, I think that this guy, the author, kind of got fucked because he didn't really believe these guys when they approached him first to buy the rights to make the game. It's also a Polish studio, right? This CD Projekt. It's a Polish company that they make the game.
Hmm.
So they came in and they were like, "Yeah, can we buy this and like make a game out of it?" And he was like, "So he sold like everything for nothing or something."
Like by that point, it's been so many years since he wrote it, and he was like, "This nothing's gonna happen with it, and you guys are fucking nobodies, and you haven't even released anything, you know, because he's such an expert in games."
His mistake was that he got just money, like a fixed amount. He
Right,
didn't
right, and
sign percentage or anything. But I think
yeah,
now they fixed it for somehow, for some reason. Somehow they fixed it, I
really,
think.
I don't know,
Or no.
I don't
I,
know.
I,
Yeah, but
I think it's
anyway,
alright now.
moral to write a book, and 30 years later, someone comes in, always ask for royalties because you're old, and ask your grandchildren for advice if you're not sure. Um, but yeah, what about you, man? Like, would you read about a lot of stuff, and you're a smart guy. Would you ever like sit down and write a book?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I've I've thought about it since several years ago, and I mean, I'm collecting right now. I have this email thread, and whatever comes up, I just put it there as
No,
ideas.
you have an email thread.
Yeah, I use Google for writing stuff. I just send an email to
Like an email
myself.
to yourself. Ah, I see.
You know.
It's like a romantic thing. It's like these romantic movies. Like someone died, but he sent an email. He sent a letter to his children before he
Yeah,
died.
because
So
I don't want to have like 1,000 places for this. This thing works, and I trust Gmail that they won't lose it. So I just write
yeah.
stuff there. But yeah, I plan to. But the thing is, I don't. Yeah, of
But
course,
what do you want to
maybe.
write?
Uh, what do I want to write? Maybe something like Vonnegut's book, something that's kind of real, kind of not. Like
Yeah.
because the way Vonnegut writes, it's fiction, but not exactly because he makes fun of people usually a lot. That's what I want to
Did
do.
I send you? I think I sent you this. I saw this fascinating, this fucking amazing video of Vonnegut, like an older Vonnegut teaching in front of some big auditorium
Oh yeah, well,
and
where
talk.
he talks about the way the story goes, right? Like with
Yeah.
he
Did you watch
draws.
this?
Yeah, 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 I've seen
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah, yeah, I know.
This is such a
The,
for
the thing is
whoever's not
because
so Kurt Vonnegut, the author, and he's teaching, he's lecturing some students, I presume some writing students or whatever, and he draws on this board like timeline of like on the vertical axis, I think it was happiness. On the horizontal, it's time in the story. And then he goes like from the start. So from the left he goes, and so the character starts at some point of at some level of happiness, and then as the story goes up and down, and then he's basically saying that most stories have a very rational line, which is usually like you wake up, something great happens, oh wow, the world is wonderful, and then everything goes to shit, and then you have to recover, and then until you're succeed at the end. But then he gives these examples of some of the greatest work ever made, like Hamlet and other stuff. They're completely breaking this rule. They're completely different on this axis. And then he says, "So what does that mean? Is this shit? Does that mean that this is bad?" He says, "No, it's genius because it
yeah,
defies the laws of this
but
this
if
this
you think
rule."
about every Hollywood movie, it follows this rule exactly. Like everyone
Yeah,
follows this line. Not everyone, but
right.
the like almost, except the
I
masterpieces.
was recently reading. Oh, what was the name of this? Steering the Craft, a very nice book by Ursula Le Guin, I think it's pronounced. She's a sci-fi author, but not only. She's a very prolific writer. And she wrote about writing, and she said, yeah, she quoted different people saying that like some people say you have like there's only 7 stories, or there's only X amount of stories, or 3 story, 10 stories.
Mm.
Like this like anything can be simplified to a specific number, and
Well,
and I
yeah,
true in that sense.
that's like in music, chords and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, it's kind of, but she criticizes that approach because she says, well, uh, and I would also say, I mean, it's you can simplify anything to anything, right? You can say every living organism is a combination of cells, like, and that doesn't give you any information on how complex we are versus, I don't know, amoebas. So, um, but yeah, maybe anyway, being aware of these similarities at least allows you to maybe try to be more creative and do something different, or because I think we should try. That's an interesting idea. Should we strive for novelty in everything we do? Should try to do something that hasn't been done, or is this a kind of dangerous pursuit, maybe dictated by our egos or something, because there's some things that are universally true, and we should better stick to the things that we know are right. What do you think?
I I think if you if you strive for it, if you try to be different and new, that's not kind of right. I think if you have something to say, if you do it the way you wanna say it, it will be different in the end in some way. But if you just wanna create something because now we have to create something, like all the Marvel movies, they have to do three movies this year, so they have to do them. So they do them, they do the same thing over and over because they have to make money. But if you wanna create something to put some message out, sure. I mean, of course, it might happen to to be something similar to something else, but probably not. I don't know. It's
Yeah, that's the bigger.
I don't. The thing is, I don't think you should try like implicit. I mean, explicitly, you should try to be different, although you don't want to.
When you mention Marvel, we've talked about this many times, but like, that's one of the, I don't know, bittersweet things, because there are benefits and there's a pros and cons. Like on one hand, you know that these guys, because it's such a big money making machine, any big studio, right, with a lot of money, can attract talent, and with this money, give an opportunity for these artists to express themselves. On the other hand, they give them this chance, and then they say you got to follow strictly these rules because the market research shows that we only want this because
Yeah.
this works.
Uh,
So it's like it's a kind of paradox, right? Because these guys, they want to do art, and as creative people, they probably want to do something that hasn't been done, or they're like, yeah, we've done this a million times, we can do something else. And then they have these execs and these guys that think about
mhm.
money, and they say, no, you just gotta just follow this and just. So that's an
Yeah. I
interesting.
also thought. Yeah. I also thought
But
about.
I was thinking when you were talking about, like, when we were talking about whether you should necessarily try to invent something new, or is this like a this deceitful pursuit where you can kind of get lured away from the truth by just trying to change things constantly. I remember that. So I live in Barcelona. There's been a lot of famous artists living here, but probably none more famous than Picasso. And I went to the Picasso Museum some time ago. I probably told you this, but I haven't told the people. So the one person that's going to listen to this. In the Picasso Museum here, I I'm not an art expert, and I mean I've seen some of Picasso's work. I have no opinion about who he was as a person, because every person that I told about this, I said, "Oh, I went to the Picasso Museum. It was such a cool place." Everyone was like, "Yeah, he was such a dick." Like, listen, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to judge the kind of person he was. I'm talking about like what I saw there, and how inspiring it was as an artistic thing. So what I saw there, which was very interesting, the way that the work was arranged in the museum was chronologically. So you can see at the beginning how he was a very good realist artist. So he was doing realistic stuff, and landscapes and portraits and everything. And he was great. Like when he was a kid already, he was fucking killing it. And pretty soon you can see how he gets bored with it, right? So he starts experimenting, and then he starts traveling. He meets other artists in Paris and other places, whatever. And he learns from them, and then eventually he starts getting further and further until he reaches like Cubism, for example, where it's like we know him for that stuff. And it's interesting because I remember when I was a kid, and we had conversations as kids about it. In school, they show us a picture of Picasso, and they say, "Yeah, that's Cubism," and then you're like, "Wait a second, I can fucking draw this. Like, what the fuck?" You know, every kid has ever probably thought
Mhm.
that thing, because taken out of context, when you don't understand how he arrived at that, you can say that. But what this museum showed me was why he arrived there, and like what was he thinking when he was doing that. And the way I saw it exemplified in the best way was, so there was this painting on the last floor. This is like his late age, when he didn't have anything to prove. He was rich already, like he didn't give a fuck about anything. So he was just, but he kept exploring. So he found this painting. I think it was called La Meninas or something. It was some royal family in Spain, and a painting painted in the 16th century or 17th century by some famous Spanish painter, like a classic realistic painting. So big oil painting. So he sees this painting in some museum and he goes, "Oh, this is amazing! This is incredible!" And it's basically a painting of a family, and all the kids and the dog and the family, everyone in a big living room. You know, it's a big family portrait. So he studies this painting and he studies it and he goes, "I'm gonna cover it. Basically, I'm gonna make a cover of this, my own, like, you know." So he starts painting versions of this painting, but in a cubist way, like in his own way. And it gets weirder and weirder, but he does this every single day. He gets up and he paints different sections of it, different details, or the whole thing over and over and over and over again for the next 6 months. Every day he does like 100 versions, hundreds of versions of this painting. And when you read the, like, because I didn't have a guide, I was just reading, you know, what it was saying under different sections. But basically, what they're, you know, people analyzing this stuff are saying is that every time, even though it was getting more and more, it was getting kind of further and further than the original, it remained true to the original. So it remained a good cover in a sense because it um, it respected like the proportions of the room, like the light, the way the light hit different objects, the way that, like, so it was interesting because it looked nothing like the original, right? It was like a meme. It was like it was distorted and weird and goofy, like the stuff that I was drawing here, and like weirder. But at the same time, it was completely true in some like deeper level, truer to this painting. Now you can probably do the opposite. You can probably, I don't know, get the make it super realistic, a realistic copy, but then distort the order of things or replace things or put or change the lighting. You can do it, but he decided I'm gonna just he decided how he wants to um, respect some elements of it and then experiment with other elements. This is in many ways what sci-fi writers do, if you think about it. In science fiction, you have to be much more realistic in many ways than in non-sci-fi. Like if you read a normal novel where someone goes to the shop and you know whatever, and his wife cheats on him, and he has a sister, whatever the fuck is going on, you know, in realistic novels. There's so many things that are unbelievable because no one is thinking, oh, I need to make it believable. But in sci-fi, when writers are writing, they're thinking, okay, I take an equation that represents this world and I change one of them. So I know that A plus B equals C. So, but what if B was two times B? Then how does that change C? Or does it affect A so I can keep C? You know, so they basically say, what if everything is the same, but we're in a simulation, and there you go, the Matrix. Or what if everything is like that, but we have time travel? Or what if, you know, and there you have every sci-fi book ever written is like that. You change one element and see what happens. So he did that. He decided, okay, let's change this and see what happens. Let's change this, see what happens. And that pursuit and how into it he was, and how he was trying to explore like the possibilities of how far he can push it before it breaks, you know, in a sense. Like what does this mean? Does it change the meaning of it? Does it change the emotion that this picture convey? Like all these questions that he was asking, like this is why he was a genius. So it's not the final straws, the lines that it looks like shit, like some kid could have drawn it, right? But it was that thought that maybe it was unconscious thinking. Maybe it was not even like putting a list of things I need to do ABC. Maybe it was inside some drive inside that was driving it. But that was fascinating. And then after he did this for 6 months, then he got bored with this, and then he looked out of the window and he had this like view, and had this like balcony or something with the view to the sea, and then some pigeons were there. So he looked at the pigeons, and then he started drawing these pigeons. And for the next 6 months, he was drawing pigeons every single day. He was drawing different pigeons every fucking day until it gets like ridiculous. So you see, this guy was like, he didn't care. He wanted to, you know, really experiment with everything, and see like it look like you were saying, like the early RPGs they were playing, that you have the shrine of mystery, and you walk around and you shine a light, and you kind of look, and it's like, oh, is there a treasure there? Is there a danger there? Like this is what he was doing, and in a sense,
It's not
I
a
think this is
shrine.
what
You said shrine. Shrine?
uh, not shrine, but like you know
Shroud.
this shroud, yeah, whatever, this shroud. You're right. So you have this darkness, and you want to kind of like break through it. In a sense, I think that's what every artist is doing with whatever they're doing. And if they do it well, then they discover like some crazy ass shit that was in such a far off area. Because that's the other thing, right? It's like other players are walking through this area too, and other players are discovering this shit. So then you got to be extra creative to go so far that no one has ever gone there, or actually stay in the same place but like dig deeper to get to some, I don't know, sub fucking uh, whatever level that no one has discovered yet. So yeah, that's interesting to me.
But you think someone like that is maybe harder to exist today in a way? Because
Like
now,
Picasso, you mean?
because now, like, well, what do you, now it's so easy to do art. Like, I'm doing art, I get a guitar and I play. Like, there are so many musicians and anything in art that are doing just the same shit. So, when usually when your original people, I mean, your listeners or whoever is consuming, when it's something new, it, they have to take some time, to understand it and to first it's when it's new, they're like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand it. Then
Right.
you have to experience it maybe in some other point of view or something, like to push to kind of expand your senses so you get to it, like if
Um,
you when you discover some new style of music or something, right? uh,
right.
but this now it's so hard to achieve,
You
because
have a very good point. I mean, I don't know if you meant well. What here's what I'm thinking when I listen to you. When you say like someone reaches that place and the other people they don't see it yet, or
yeah,
they
yeah,
like what is he exactly doing? Like the kid is like I can fucking do this. Like this is there's it's pointless. Like a cat looking at TV. It's like yeah whatever. But that has been the case with so many writers, right? I mean, uh, so many writers became famous after like posthumously, right? Because they were not understood. Like no one they died poor
yeah,
and uh, and people later they were like this guy was genius, and I think that it's a very very good point that nowadays that fucking uh, lust for appreciation and for immediate feedback, like online or any form of likes or whatever views, makes you not venture far off. So, like what you're saying that today is harder for these people to exist. I think because they don't realize that that option exists or that option is actually good to examine because they're thinking no actually I shouldn't be doing something that people won't get. I should stick with things that people really really get.
yeah,
I think nowadays kids are like, you know what? The real success is not that guy that wrote the greatest fucking book ever, but only people that after his death realize that it's great. It's that guy who writes something and then in the next second people buy it no matter what kind of shit it is, and they line up in lines in queues and they buy it. I think that's the wrong impression that people get because of this fucking shit, because of marketing, really, because that word didn't exist before. Like, do you understand what marketing is? Like, how fucking stupid that is. Marketing and sales, it's all about, selling something in not in that word, you have no information about what you're selling. It's like an art of selling anything, right? There exists such a thing which helps you sell any fucking shit. Actually, the better you are at it, or the better that marketing works, or whatever marketing products or services you're using, then the more shit you can sell and the worse shit you can sell. Like if you can sell the worst shit, then you get the fucking best marketing, right? And now you have these movies that have like a whatever 20 million budget and 100 million budget for marketing. Or and we've talked about this so many times that it's so difficult even for the consumers, not even for the artists, but for people who are consuming this, to challenge themselves to actually arrive in an original opinion about something. Like, how do you even know that when you say, you know what, I really like this, that opinion is yours? Because how is not that not influenced by the fact that it has a million views or a million likes? Because everyone is telling you it's great, right? And we're social creatures, and we listen to people and we care about people's opinions. So if everything is telling you constantly, the radio is playing this song and ads are running up and telling you, that's the shit, man, that's the shit, and you're like, yeah, man, I guess that's the shit. Oh my god, and I love it too. Oh, it's fucking crazy. How is that even possible? Of course, it's great. And you're like, yeah, that was my idea from the start. And you're not even okay, do that, but then try to do something that's not even advertised at all, or try to find something outside of that, and then compare it, and you see maybe it's shit, or maybe actually you like it more. And if you do, don't be afraid of that, liking it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of being different than other people, or not doing something different than others. I think as much as artists need to be original, and look for these new ways, consumers also have to challenge themselves a little bit, because that's where they find the real interesting stuff, I guess.
But it's not only their fault, you know, because before I guess it was more a word of mouth or something. People told you, We like this,
Yeah.
it's good."
Yeah.
But now it's just someone paid for it and they they tell you it's good. They're even like, how is this even legal? Like they pay some guy, some actor, whatever guy, and he tells you, I use this all the time, it's the best. Like how is this? You know,
Yeah.
he's lying,
Right.
and everyone knows that, but they're fine with it. They're like, oh, I guess I'll buy it. You know,
Well, I'll lie and then I'll get paid. It works for me.
but it's so weird. Everyone knows it's a lie, but it's a thing that works.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy how easy we are to manipulate. And now it gets even worse, because it's not just human interest. Now it's also machines thinking for us, right? Because these
Yeah,
algorithms decide for us on our behalf. So you put some random amount of money and you have like whatever 10 videos, and some machine decides that's the fucking best video to push. I mean, I'm oversimplifying. It could work with 100, 1,000, whatever,
yeah,
different kind of content. Then all of a sudden, some ad. I mean, tomorrow there'll probably be ads made by machines that you haven't even constructed yourself. Like even now, like even on Tinder, you have this. You have this option where it says like you can let Tinder decide which photo of you is best.
yeah. But
Like tomorrow, Tinder will be changing your photos,
they also have that. You know, for ads you have thumbnails. So now you can
right?
upload 10 thumbnails and it will show you this is the best one. People clicked this one mostly. You know,
Yeah.
most this.
It's
So
basically now machines know better of humans than we know ourselves. Like soon enough, machines are going to serve everything. Like you're not even going to know. That's what I'm thinking. Like, do you even know? Do you even think like people in these big companies like Google and Facebook? Like, do they even know what they're doing actually? What they created is doing? They don't even know what's going on. Do you think they know? Like you've worked
you
in
mean
companies like this.
yeah, AI? Uh, I mean,
Do,
there.
do, a guy working there, like a higher up guy, like someone in control, in a managerial position, whatever, in charge, do they know like what's happening, like completely everything is happening, or is there a lot of
No,
shit that they like
of course not.
happening?
Of course not. They just the higher you get, the the more you're interested in results. You know, in what is results, money, revenue. That's what they care
Right.
at the top.
As long as it works, it's not broken and brings money, don't care. Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
it's
it's scary. It's scary. Like because if we make these sacrifices with our freedom like this, like what do we gain in return? That's the question, right?
it's
Like, is it so
it's
much
not
better
even
than
a sacrifice. You know, it's
what?
not someone decides let's sacrifice this. It's a natural evolution kind of thing, a path. The way just how we progress to some point in time, which we'll see what it is. I guess not we, but someone will see it. But it's not a sacrifice. Like I can't decide to not make this sacrifice. You know, it just happens everywhere because it works.
Oh.
So it's kind of fucked up.
We were talking today about Westworld, and simulations and stuff. One of our favorite topics on this podcast forever. It's been the simulation stuff, and we were talking about this, and I'm surprised actually that you don't like Westworld, and that it so much disappointed you that you stopped in the first season. So why how what did that for you? Like what was so disappointing that you were like fucking can't stand it anymore?
The thing is that they don't. Um, what was the word? They can't convince me that their story is their story is just not convincing. Like they tell me, oh my god, we created this perfect reality. Here is we're repeating it. We're like so precise with everything. They're these robots. We're recreating everything the same way every day. And then they forget some bullet in some woman's stomach, and she was like, get this knife and stab me with it. Get the bullet out. I have to see that it's true or something. He stopped started stabbing her. Like, I'm like, oh my god, like, did you really need this moment? And this is how they wrote it. Like, this is how the robot will discover that it's not real. There will be a bullet. She will ask to get stabbed, and she's like, oh my god, there's a bullet. So apparently I'm a robot. I'm like, oh fuck this. Just. And there were several moments like that during. I think this was
Yeah.
like fifth or sixth episode in the first. And like, so no, I can't.
Right. No, what we were talking earlier, and I was like, um, also even deeper than that. The problem is, okay, even if these robots realize that they're robots, or they see something like that, with like the bullet or something doesn't make sense, still, what would motivate? Is that just enough? Just realizing the nature of things for them to immediately flip into consciousness and be fully mobilized to know what's best and want freedom and want revenge and everything. Like that's a little far fetched. Like immediate, like, for example, if you play a game and an NPC like clips into an object or falls off a cliff or some stupid shit happens like this, and the other NPCs walking by see it, they don't react and they go, "Oh my god, we're in a game. What the fuck is going?" Like they don't fucking they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, someone died or whatever. Like it's part of their existence. Uh, what if? I mean, I think if they knew about it, why would they even care? Like if they knew about it and they would say, "Well, I'm still immortal and they're going to do me again," and I mean, who cares? I mean, why do they? So they, I don't see the connection between knowing this and the motivations to kill people. Those are human emotions. I don't see them attached. I don't see the reason why these creatures have them if they're so completely different than us and they're programmed to be different than us, and all of a
The
sudden
thing is,
they're just like us.
they're programmed to self-learn, and right now they're not sure how exactly it works. Like they're not sure exactly what happens. The algorithm is such that it's, for example, these neuron networks or whatever it's called. They're not exactly sure what's exactly what's happening there. Uh, it's just constructed in such a way that it learns constantly and it gets better. So the thing is, this algorithm, it might achieve consciousness at some point or something, like if they make it a bit better maybe. Do you know the problem with this paradox with the switch off button? Like because when they create a robot that is full like conscious and whatever,
Yeah.
they they will, of course they will want to put some safety button on it, right? If you have a robot at home, they'll put a button to switch it off, right? In case it gets dangerous or something.
Okay.
Like you need such a safety, right?
Okay.
But the thing is, this robot, if it somehow becomes conscious of itself, it won't let you push the button, you know, because it will turn me off. So the thing is, it's kind of weird to have such a button.
Yeah.
It's a paradox because you can't really make the robot let you push it, you know.
No, I think the paradox is also like we don't know what consciousness exactly is, and like maybe there's a separation between like what is consciousness and like the intelligent functions that we have because they somehow override these natural responses and instincts that we have. For example, this not switching off the button is an extension of like a natural propensity to protect your life, right? Because we as any living creature on this planet, we just want to live and procreate, right? So we just want to save our lives. This is like an instinct from any
Yeah.
life form has this instinct to survive, but not every life form has consciousness, right? So then this state
Uh,
is not part of consciousness, or shouldn't be at least, right?
no, I mean, why wouldn't they?
Because, for example,
Well,
if you see
no, I mean, because you said not everything has consciousness,
yeah, for
which
example,
is
an animal has, let's say all animals have they want to survive and they want
we're
to,
making some breakthroughs here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so think about this. Let's think about this. So, for example, all animals have they want to survive. And given in this, if that was an animal instead of this robot, that there was a switch off button, an animal knows that if you turn this button, it's gonna die. The animal wouldn't
Yeah,
want that, right? Every animal
yeah,
would want to
yeah,
survive, correct?
yeah,
At the same
yeah.
time, we have, and we as humans also have that. Like, I don't want to, if that button was there, I'd be like, please don't press the button, right?
Well, we have the button. We have a button. You
Yeah,
get
right,
stabbed and they push our
right.
button.
And we say that if someone commits suicide, then it's a mental illness or something. We say you're broken. You're not working well
You're going
if
to
you've done this,
hell.
right? Or you're going to
Yeah,
hell,
yeah, that's
whatever
the
punishment you're going to receive, right? And then, but then at the same time, we are consciousness, we're conscious, and these animals are not, right? And
No, no, no. What do you mean not? Why wouldn't they be conscious?
okay, so,
That's
so
not
this
true.
so there are two possibilities here, right? So they could either be we're conscious, they're not, or there's different levels of consciousness. In this,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I think too.
okay. So if we go with this possibility, then maybe at some level of consciousness you can switch this off. Why? Because at the same time we have us that we want to survive, but also we can override this. And you have these like monks, they're protesting on the street, like in the Vietnam War, and they're setting themselves on fire and they're burning to death and they're not even flinching. So our consciousness, our level of consciousness, it seems, allows us to override this instinct. So then you would think that a robot gets even higher consciousness or at the same level as us that can also override this or can override this for another reason. Like, for example, if it's about protecting its
Mm.
offspring. For example, an animal can
Yeah, yeah,
sacrifice its life if it protects
yeah.
other life, you know. So this, but that's also part of life. So I guess, so then the question is, because it reminds me of something else. I think I told you about this. Like there was this really wacky theory that Terence McKenna had, and but it's interesting theory, and I think it's suitable to mention it here. It's not a big distraction from the topic. He was thinking, Terence McKenna, the guy with the mushrooms in it. So Terence McKenna was saying, what if we are actually a symbiotic organism between like an ape that we are and some foreign alien intelligence that maybe has come through mushrooms. So what if these apes that were eating the psychedelic mushrooms for millions of years, eventually like the mushrooms are one kind of organism. They've come from spores from the space, like frozen in asteroids or whatever. And then you have the monkeys that are an animal from this planet with all the fucking rules of this planet, like this survival instinct, like territorialism, aggression, like all kinds of stuff like this. But our intelligence seems to be overriding this if we allow it to, right? So it seems like it's different or separate or like a different kind of thing. So almost like an alien thing, right? So he's saying, what if the mushroom or something else? I mean, I'm giving this as an example only. Like the consciousness is a foreign thing on top of this that can suppress if we are strong enough, intelligence, conscious enough, or whatever, or we have a good enough reason, we can suppress these animalistic instincts of survival and other such instincts like aggression, like possessiveness, or whatever, materialism. Those are
Yeah,
all
that's
expressions.
what enlightenment is about, right? This
Right.
nirvana stuff.
So then to come back to the AI question, so what do you think now? Um, I don't know. First of all, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think we're gonna this moment will come? Because there are two kind of schools of thought. Some people say we will never crack it, we'll never be able to make it, and other people will say, well, it's coming at sooner or later, but it's gonna happen. What do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like we said, I said it the previous episode, maybe during the disconnect. Anyway, no one is looking at this. Of course, it's possible because we are here now. We're not some magical entity. We're uh, some molecules that are real. So why not create it artificially, right?
Right.
There's nothing there magical. There, of course, we don't understand how it works, like
Yeah.
what is consciousness, but it's somewhere there. It's not. I don't think it's like it will be weird if it's some quantum
It's not
stuff.
like some divine thing that. Yeah. Yeah. I get you. Okay. Yeah, all right. Even if it was divine, it's already part of us. Even if it was alien mushrooms, it's already in, right? So we can kind of deconstruct it and build it or
Yeah,
create it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like we've been building copies of ourselves forever, right? Since ancient times, you had the myths of even in Greek mythology, and like who was the name of the guy that was like building a copy of, or like building a sculpture of a girl and falling in love with that girl. We've had myths of this kind of like Westworld kind of myths of humans making copies of themselves that become better and better until they're like us, or even better until they kill us, or we fall in love, or we in some way we interact with them, which usually brings some doom over to us, maybe because of the idea that we're playing gods and that's dangerous. It's always been this fear, it seems like, and we're getting better and better at making these copies now with the technology we have either in VR or in whatever. What are you testing, the autofocus or?
Because I see when you're talking, my sound is going up, and I'm not sure if it's from the headphones or, but it's very small. I don't think it's heard, but it's there. What the hell is happening?
But
Uh,
yeah, I mean, okay, so let's assume it's going to happen at some point. So then the next question, how soon do you think it could happen?
I don't know. That it doesn't really matter. It's hard to say. How can you say that? Like because now the last month was kind of the whole world stopped.
Right.
You know, so anything like that can happen anytime. But if nothing,
Also the opposite can also some like boom can happen like a new technology, like when the internet was some new technology could speed things up.
I don't think it will be in our lifetime. Looking at how things are now,
You
so
know?
who cares then? Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I'm hoping for something else. I'm hoping you probably also saw this, the immortality stuff. I hope
No,
we see that. He was in
never.
Rogan, this guy. The thing is, they're making a lot of progress in that now. It's
Ah,
much
okay.
more possible for us to become immortal than AI right now to reach us. You know.
In a sense, it's the same. In a way, it's the same pursuit, right? Either we
Well,
extend our lives, or we create life that extends for us. You know, like we, what do you say? We give this task to the AI
transcend. Yeah.
you know, to
But still, it's
continue.
not exact. It's different because it won't be you or I. You know, we will die.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
used to talk about this like before. I even started talking about it, I think, yesterday, but I didn't finish. Like I used to read these Stanisław film stories, and he had these really nice, super far-fetched ideas. Like this is like fucking short stories written in the 40s and 50s, no, 50s, 60s, where he was writing about like biological life at some point creating mechanical life, that life ascending to a point where it starts travel. It doesn't have the limitations that
Wait, do you
biology.
mean did you say Arthur Clarke or someone else?
No, Stanisław Lem, the
Because
poet.
Arthur Clarke also writes
Yeah,
biology
yeah, they
novels.
all wrote about this sort of stuff. Like, but this mechanical life ascending and going somewhere else, and then eventually
Yeah.
this mechanical life getting bored, or for some other reason creating biological life, and then the kind of cycle, with like biological life, mechanical life,
Mm.
biological. Then Arthur Clarke had also like a third phase or whatever, where it's like it's all energy. Like he had,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
forget the name of the story was. There was this super cool story about this like two characters, like a love relationship between them, and it goes like through these different stages until eventually it's like just a full state of entropy, and there's still like the two dying stars or whatever, and there's the energy of these two entities, and they know that it's going to happen, it's going to come to an end, but they came to the end of the time, and they're still in this loving relationship, whatever. But yeah, I don't know, things are in a much greater scale than we realize, and at the same time, these things are repeating nonstop in different forms in nature. And I think in many ways, I think this is in many ways what we're doing, and what being human, I think, is about, is trying to find out these connections, right? Think about it. Whatever we do, if whatever your field is, if you're studying biology and you learn, okay, this is how these cells interact and those are the rules of them. If you're studying chemistry, then you're like, oh, the molecules that these cells are made of, they interact with these rules. Then if you're studying, physics, you're like, well, the quantum elements that are making these molecules, they're making these cells, they're reacting, they have these rules. And then you see that actually many of these rules they have things in common, that there's some logical things, not things in common, but there's some logical rules that they kind of follow, that these rules kind of mirror themselves, that there's some connections between them, and then all of these finally affect our own lives, and we mirror these same rules, and in many ways, like we do things. They're similar in our endeavors and in anything, fucking business and lifestyle, whatever decisions we make, we do things that are similar to all of that, because we are kind of built on that substrate of all this stuff behind us, biology, chemistry, physics, that all of it affects us constantly. And I think this is one thing we can do, is just try to find these connections and figure out like figure out this connection, and then we see we're part of this bigger picture, and then we I don't know, we try to learn from these different levels and employ these things on our level, so to make it like work optimally or something. I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. But where does it end? What's the hypothetical end?
Of
You
what?
know, we apply it here to make our life easier or make us happier or what?
Right. Well, we do well. That's a good point. I think. Huh. You know what? You made me think now. Like, okay. because if the point of all of this is to make sure that everyone is healthy and everyone is happy and all the kids are fed and they're in bed and they're and everyone is
We can do it now.
yeah, we can do it now. Exactly right. So why do we keep doing and why do we keep trying to produce new ideas which ultimately kind of fucking fuck things up once in a while and really in worse and worse ways in a sense.
Have you read *Sapiens*?
No.
It's kind of a popular bestseller now, but he
Yeah.
actually looks very interestingly at this stuff because it's actually an interesting read. It's not just facts and random years what happened when, but he just looks from afar at how humanity progressed as a whole. Like we started as hunters, then the next stage was farmers, and he actually said like what the fuck our lives became worse because with farming we had easier food, but then suddenly everyone had like 20 kids, so they
Yeah.
needed more food to feed them, so they started
Right.
working all day, like 10 hours per day on this to get this food on the field. But before that they were like for 3 hours hunting, like they get some deer and they feed their whole like 10 people village, but now they have to feed like 100 people village. So the end result was they were less happy from that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's weird, like sure we make our lives easier, but there's a price also for this. And
No, I told you I read recently this book Walden by Henry Trudeau, and this is a guy who went to the forest and lived there for 2 years and built a cabin there, and this is like 170 years ago. And you read this book, and it's like the most current thing. It sounds like it was written yesterday. It's the same fucking problems we're discussing and the same thoughts. This guy had brilliant. Let me actually completely random. Let me read a couple of completely random passages just to show you how fucking. This is first pages, just random, just a couple of the
I see
first
some
pages.
sci-fi behind. Anyway,
Yeah, there's the Master of
the yellow, yeah.
Yeah, I'm building this stack up. This is just for like you can't see the bottom of it. Maybe you can see like this is not much, but it's like from the last few months the stuff I read. This is the thing I love about living in a city where you have a subway. I know it's nice to ride a bike. It's the healthiest thing you can do and best for the environment. I know everything is nice and nice to have a car too, but nothing beats the time I have when I'm in the subway to read. Because otherwise, if I go to bed and read, it's not going to work. I fall asleep. If I sit down to read, I can't. I get distracted. But if I'm on the way to work, there's nothing better to do than read. So let me read to you now.
Oh, I thought you were
Just
reading.
some.
Yeah.
Um,
That was a nice quote from you.
hold on. Yeah. Let me find this actually because sometimes I find something and I take a photo. So instead of trying to embarrass myself by completely random, so I lied in this case. But so in case of doing this random thing, okay, here we go. Are you ready for this?
I
Here we
hope
go.
so.
Okay.
Mm, 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 mm.
God damn it.
God damn it, indeed. Should I tell a joke or something?
Yeah, say something. I'm gonna find this particular phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah. Also, I have a car. I have a bike, but when the weather is bad, like these last 2 days, I don't care about the corona because I don't. I mean, whatever. I'm not a retard. I just have reasons to not care about it, and I prefer the bus because I read there. And now there are like 5 people, so it's not very dangerous. And everyone is like 5 meters away inside. So I just go on the bus and read. Yeah, it's the shit. But now, because it's snowing, I can't read while I'm on the stop, which is sad. Are you? Did you find it?
Yeah, the reason I'm reading is I found it, but I took a photo of the whole page and I'm looking for the exact sentence. But
Ah.
let me read the. It's not much. So let me read, for example, this. It's like really early on, first few pages. Most men, even in this competitively free country, through mere ignorance and mistake, are so occupied with the factitious cares and superfluously coarse labors of life that its finer fruits cannot be plucked by them. Listen to this. Their fingers from excessive toil are too clumsy and tremble too much for that. Actually, the laboring man has not leisure for a true integrity day by day. He cannot afford to sustain the manliest relations to men. His labor would be depreciated in the market. He has no time to be anything but a machine. How can he remember well his ignorance, which his growth requires? This I found it. This is the best. How can he remember well his ignorance, which his growth requires? Who has so often to use his knowledge? We should feed and clothe him gratuitously sometimes and recruit him with our cordials before we judge of him. There's another one. This is so interesting. Here's another one. Um, it would be easier for them to, I guess, for these people in our society or the society around New York and 170 years ago, it would be easier for them to hobble to town with a broken leg than with a broken pantaloon. So he's basically making fun of the fact that people like he does. This is interesting. What's the last time you saw someone with a patch on their pants? That's not a homeless person, for example.
And that's not a
Like,
white girl.
yeah, right. But probably she bought it with the patch,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah. That's what I mean.
But it's
I don't know why
interesting.
it
What's
says white.
what's wrong with
Together.
patches? Like, why do you have to throw away something because it's out of fashion or whatever? Like, with something for some reason something wrong with patches. He says it would be easier for these people to hobble to town with a broken leg than with a broken pantaloon. Often, if an accident happens to a gentleman's legs, they can be mended. But if a similar accident happens to the legs of his pantaloons, there is no help for it. For he considers not what is truly respectable, but what is respected. This guy, every fucking line is like a quote from this book. It's crazy. And the final thing. Um, okay, if there is, this is so great. He's talking about how can we need so many different clothes when we don't change ourselves enough to require such change in the attire. So basically says, uh, wait, I just had it and I lost it. Okay. So whoever saw his old clothes, his old coat actually worn out, resolved into its primitive elements, so that it was not a deed of charity to bestow it on some poor boy, by him perchance to be bestowed on some poorer still, or shall we say richer, who could do with less. I say, beware of all enterprises that require new clothes, and not rather a new wearer of clothes. How fucking smart this line. If there is not a new man, how can the new clothes be made to fit? If you have any enterprise before you, try it in your old clothes. All men want not something to do with, but something to do, or rather something to be. So, I mean, this book is amazing, and it's very interesting. This is like, it's only one or two books that this guy ever wrote. So basically, he lived in the forest and was just like chilling and reading books and writing and walking by this lake and looking at the at nature and it's so interesting because this book like starts with like these discussions like about the economics of this, like, oh, how am I going to survive, how much money will I need, like if I'm not working and all this, like I guess normal thoughts you would have. And he was around our age too. It was like 28 or something when he did this. And then and by the end of it, it becomes so like transcendent, and he's just like talking about the seasons and how that influences and the different animals that come up to his cabin, and these amazing descriptions of how all these animals are in such harmony. And it's like you can tell like by the way that he wrote that book how he himself changed. By the end of it, he was a different individual, like so much above these things. So it's an interesting, and that's, I mean, I told you that, but I was thinking also that it would be such a fucking amazing thing to do something like that, just to go and just because that's another thing he wrote. I didn't quote that, but he wrote about that. Like people say, and I remember this. I'm loosely quoting here, but he said this: like people often complain. They say, "Oh, life is terrible. It's so shit," and at the same time they say, but I have no choice. I have no fucking choice. I gotta do it. Like life is, I gotta do it. He says, how do you not have a choice where you're not even trying something else? There's so many choices. There's infinite amount of choice, he says. So like, and I agree with the fact that we don't try other things. Like even something like this, like how many people do just say, you know what? If I'm going to work for different companies my whole life and whatever, and be frustrated, then 1 year more or less won't change a thing. For example, young people like us, we don't have kids yet. We don't have responsibilities like this. The only responsibility we have is ourselves. So why not take a little break and go and kind of reconnect with yourself and with whatever nature and think about these things. We don't do it. We don't stop. And so this is what I was talking yesterday about, that this thing now that's happening, at least for me, some people are panicking, some people are lonely. I read people saying, oh, this made me feel lonely. I realize how much I miss people. And I realize how this is, how much value this gives you if you really focus inwardly and you listen to the silence, and how much you can learn from that. So I don't know. That, to me, it works. For me, it works. But I don't know why these people get so lonely because of this. Like, come on, man. Like, fucking stay home for a week and then you're lonely as fuck. Fucking kidding me?
So next podcast, the whole 3 hours will be about those last 5 minutes you rambled. I know you said so many things. Uh, but yeah.
But man, this is so interesting. We can talk about like books, like you can, if you have like, because you're reading very amazing books that I have not read, and I've read some stuff you haven't read. So we can also bring this up. We can do all kinds of stuff. Has anyone written any comments today or anything? No. Do you have it open?
Oh, they're like two. Wow.
Oh shit.
One, of
Read.
course, the guy who wants us to talk in Bulgarian. He's always there. And someone is asking what's up with you.
Wait, I'm opening up too. So Dina Bogarski, okay, Georgi Angelov, and then Ragnar Lothbrok. What is this? He's some member of the Nordic mythology. Bogi, Kostanasta Ebrai. I don't know, man. It's just life
Bruh.
happened to me. I get old. There's these things here. Like when I do this, it starts here and it's here.
Oh my god.
It's like,
Damn.
trees when they have, like when they age, they get these circles around. Soon it's gonna be like circling around my face.
I thought I was old, but damn, okay. Uh,
But by the way, I want to say this because these people.
but you know what the guy wants?
What?
Tell him what's up. When is the next special?
Right. So that's what I want to say. Well, over the years that I haven't done anything, every once in a while, there either one or two things happens. Either someone says something so nice and so lovely and says something like, on a random video from the past, they say, "Oh my God, what's going on, man? We missed this show. Like, what's going on?" Or they write a comment on the video with the mushrooms and they say, "Hey, do you sell something?" So either one of the two, either one of the two happens. Every couple of months, someone will say something nice, and it really, like, thank you so much for saying that. And I've said this many times that I do things for a reason, and I don't want to do things that if I don't find if I think that it's something I've done before and I've done even better before, and I'm just going to do it for what? Just to please people, or just to make money, or just I don't. In other words, I can't find a good enough reason to commit to something. And the other reason being that yeah, if I do something, I like to do it seriously. Like I did the show before. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it for 6 months. Or I'm going to do this. I'm going to, and for the moment, I can't commit to something like this because I don't find a good enough reason to do that. If I was home, no fucking questions asked. No fucking question. You know that if I was
Bulgaria.
no?
You're not in Bulgaria first, yeah.
Exactly. Right. If I was back home, I'll be fucking on the stage right now. I'll be fucking people on the stage. That's where my level would be at. Like, I'll be like, guys, give me money, and they'll come in and I'll fuck them. Like, that's how fucking confident I would be. But, I'm not there. And so, yeah, I moved out. And as I moved out, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I got to do something new now. It's different. We talked about it yesterday too. So yeah, that's the short answers. I live abroad and I do other things. And now my creative things is mostly writing. And but I miss the old times. And if maybe one day I return to them, if I find a good enough reason to do it, that's not just money or feeling like nostalgic or trying to please people. There has to be a better reason than
So
that.
why were you doing it before?
Well, that's a very good question. And I think the honest answer is a lot. Well, I guess I just wanted to. It's for the kind of the same reason why I'm writing, or the same reason I'm doing most of these things. I want to be significant in some sense. I guess I want to influence people. I want to, like, these things I have on this tattoo. I've talked about this before, right? Like movere docere delectare, this thing, like that I believe in. That you On one hand, I want to create something significant that will either make people laugh or make people feel nice and have a good time or think about something for a second. That's one thing. And the other honest truth was, I don't know, I like the approval. I wanted to be famous and people to like me and people to tap me on the shoulder. And I guess this comes from some insecurity. I think everyone who's into. I even watched this video that was so sad. Oh my god. There's this guy Alain de Botton who's such a fucking intelligent guy. He has this channel on YouTube, School of Life, and he's like this philosopher. He's a super smart guy, and he did this video that's fucking disgusting because it could be true. That's why I say it's disgusting. It was why so many people want to be writers today. That was the title of the video, and he says maybe it's because, and he was trying to basically break it down like a psychological, for trying to find a psychological reason for it, almost like there's some disease, and the answer to it is that, and he said it's because people are lonely and they want to be heard, and they want people to listen to their voice and to their stories, and that's why they want to write. And so that is part of it. I did all of that before because I wanted to be heard. I wanted people to listen to me. I wanted to be like to feel great, like look, people fucking listen to me, and they give me likes and they buy tickets and they do this, and so yeah, a lot of it was that, and some of it is gone now. Like some of it, I don't have that need anymore, and I'm okay with not without having it. Um, it's like you grow up and you change. Like remember when we were in high school, I wanted to be an actor. Remember that was like my thing. Like 90% of people, I guess, at some point in their life, they want to be like a celebrity or something. Like I'm going to be an actor. And then very quickly, I realized, well, I very much respect that, but I don't like the dramatic act. I don't think I got the chops, and I don't think I'm willing to spend a lot of time and effort to get these chops for the dramatic stuff. But I still like the comedy stuff. So I started doing that. So then I said, I'm going to be a comedian. And then I said, actually, again, I adjusted out. Maybe I want to now. My dream is to be a host of a show, some sort of comedy show, maybe on TV or something. And then I changed that too when I, had my tiny little bit of experience with Bulgarian televisions, and I was like, definitely, I don't want to have that dream. So many times I've adjusted that dream until finally I realized, well, the only common thing between all these dreams is the love for storytelling, right? As an actor, you reenact a story. As a comedian, you tell stories. As a TV show host, you write and you tell these stories. So at the end of the day, I just started writing stories, right? So long story short, I still do the same thing. It's just a different expression, a different form of it, and maybe a little bit less of ego nowadays. And that's, I think, what happened. So yeah, the ego death of all the fucking trips. Where did that go? To teach me that I don't need to get constant approval from people. I can write for months and for years maybe before someone notices it, and that's fine. Maybe no one ever notices it, but I'm still fine with it, right? So that's new. That I never had that before. It had to be like instant approval, right? So
What I mean, not before, like, because that kind of reminds me, when I was a child, I was like that, you know. I didn't care about approval. I was just doing stuff that I liked.
yeah,
So
but I
you
think you
know,
are like that. You're very much more detached than me in that sense. Like you're very like, for example, we talked about photography yesterday. You take photos of people because you like to capture that moment. You like to be the guy behind. That's why you were helping me out even long before we did this podcast. You were always involved with the shows before in some capacity, even if it was just championing it. But it was because you're cool with stepping aside and helping out other people do their thing. And not everyone's like that. Some people are like that, but some people get to that level at some point. Other people never get to that point. Other people always want to be in the spotlight. And I wanted to be in the spotlight for a long time. And in a sense, I still have that desire somewhere. I mean, that's why I'm writing. If you think about it, at the end of the day, either way, if you're creating something, you have some sort of confidence that you're thinking that your shit is worth people's fucking time, right? You're like, my words are so fucking special that these people are going to sacrifice their time to read them. There is a confidence in that. So if you're on stage and you're thinking, oh yeah, my like people are going to buy tickets, they listen to my shit. That's how important I am. I'm going to get on this thing that's higher up, like a stage, and from the top of this shit, look at them and hold a device that makes my voice louder so that I can be heard across the entire room. There's confidence. It's like you're thinking, I'm so fucking special that you're gonna listen to me. So that aspect of it, or part of that, is still present, you know. Uh, and I think it's present with any artist. Any artist, I think, has that thought in their heads that, you know what, you ought to fucking listen to what I'm saying because it's pretty special. Everyone has that thought and really back in their head somewhere. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. Otherwise, they would write in a made up language that's like no one can read, you know,
Yeah, or just
or they
not
would
show it
write
to
it,
anybody.
you know. So, but what about you? When you do stuff like when you're with the band, um, why do you do this? Do you just do it for the fun? When you said yesterday, like when the people came up and they were super championing you, or do you do it for something else than
The thing
fun?
is, I do respect my music taste. I think when I'm having fun, when I'm playing music that I love playing, that I'm, you know, that kind of synchronizes with something somewhere in some way. You know, it's not you're not that different. It will sync with someone else too, right? So when I play something that I don't know. The thing is, it kind of feeds back on itself. I play something that I love playing, and eventually it gets. I mean, I hope it happens, but really, it's not that important for me either. Now when I'm
What
writing songs, I really just want to write a song that I first like to listen to, and
right?
then I will like to play it. And then from then on, I think naturally people will like it too. But it's not
Have you?
It's not necessary. It's not something that makes me write it. You
Right.
know.
Oh, you mean the people listening to? It's not
Yeah, yeah,
necessary,
yeah.
or
But I believe it happens naturally. I think the all the good art, I mean, except the pop shit, it always happens from that place of heart. People
right?
do it because they want to. It's fun for them. They first they satisfy themselves, then some other people relate in some way to that, and they come to listen. You know,
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
the opposite of marketing. You know,
Yeah.
to wrap it up.
No, but I don't know, man.
But
It's it's interesting.
otherwise it's kind of fake. You know.
But have you? But you mentioned earlier you want to do something that you like to listen,
Yeah.
uh, but at the same time you you're kind of always critical of your stuff. Everyone is because you
But
first
that's
start
usually happens later. Like the moment you write it, you're like, oh my god, this is the shit. But
right.
then you write the next thing and you listen to the old one. Oh, what was I thinking? You
Exactly.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So,
you're on a journey
but first one,
usually.
or do you say do you bury it when that moment comes?
What do I do with the first one?
Yeah,
I mean, we have like three at this point, and I keep doing more. But no, it's just no. So far it hasn't been to a point that I really like hate it, and like, oh my god, I
right.
don't wanna see this ever. It's
Yeah,
it's kind of there. It's never goes this bad. So far it hasn't been. Even with anything, even with photos. When I look at old photos, I see like, I mean, obviously it's not that good, but it's not something like I go, oh my god, this is horrible. You know, I see
yeah,
it
and
with
that's
other
what I think.
people, but
That's
even I,
I think that's why the motivation is so important, because even if the technicalities are not there, if the reason for doing it was good, was right, then it kind of shows still,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So if you really liked it, it doesn't matter that it's not perfect, but I can tell that like really I was so much into that.
yeah.
Like I can tell, okay, it was, and I think I was watching this masterclass. You know these things that you download from Pirate Bay or you buy for 200 bucks or whatever. And I was watching this masterclass by Neil Gaiman. You know the author, the guy that wrote
Yeah, I know him. A lot of things. American Gods
uh,
or
yeah. So what was this show that it's on Amazon?
God
American
Omens.
God.
God
Yeah,
Omens. Yeah.
God, yeah, okay, that was one. But there was this about gods, like something gods, American gods, or
Yeah, American Gods. But it's a book, it's not a show yet.
yeah, it is a show already.
Oh
Like
my god.
it has
Okay.
yeah, and that thing, and then Coraline, and then a bunch of anyway. So this guy has a master class, and oh, he also has done a lot of like graphical novels, like Sandman and other stuff. This guy, great author, it's really smart guy, teaching writing in this master class, and he said this really cool thing. He was like, you know, assume that you got a bunch of fucking shit words inside you that you just need to take out before the good words come in. So just start writing. So you let these things kind of come out and come out and come out.
Yeah,
Eventually, you get to one point that over time, when
but
you
you
look
know,
back at,
yes.
oh, that was the spot. That at that moment, I hit it.
But the thing is, I also thought a lot about this. I also have this theory, but we're fucked in, you know how? Because we started late, kind of, and our uh, the things you've read a lot of books until now. So now the things you like, they're very high level. Uh, so now you're starting to write stuff, or even
Yeah.
with music. When I listen to like some shit for like 15 years now, and the things I listen to now, it's hard to get there with writing, you know. So in order for me to be completely satisfied, I have to write that. But if I
I
started
know.
like earlier when I was listening to some stupid shit,
Yeah.
it was also easier to write that because it's dumb,
But
you
that's
know.
why I told you. That's why I told you in the beginning when you said that you're always critical because you always have more time that you spend listening to music than writing. It's always like this. Always you've
Not
read more
not
than you. So,
yeah,
and so
always, but now
yes.
it's much worse because we didn't start this in high school, you know.
Yeah, but I think you can make up to it to
Yeah.
some degree,
I
you know.
believe I
And
believe it's possible, but still you have to be aware of it and just accept you'll do a lot of shit on the way. You just have, even if you think it's shit right away, just do it.
also, you know this other cliche that everyone talks about, and musicians especially. I remember in particular, Buddy Guy was talking about it. He was like, when you fail, but everyone's saying that. Like it's a quote that you can't even pinpoint to a particular person. Like when you fail in the imitation of someone else, you reach your own style. So in other words, failure is also like in the Neil Gaiman advice and in this advice, it's like you need to fail. And in this case, if you're critical of yourself, then you were accepting of this failure, you are aware of this failure, and if you, despite of this failure, proceed to write, then you kind of like accept this failure. Come at me, failure, and the failure comes in, and that failure makes you like you jump on the failure and you
Yeah,
propel yourself further, you know. So and then you fail again and again and again, but those are all stepping stones,
and you also
and then
know,
you
yeah,
reach that level, but you reach some level that is some people will like it. You find your own audience and they will like it, you know.
the hardest thing in that is that usually, yeah, that's why you shouldn't show anything in the beginning to anyone because usually on the outside they'll see it much easier that it's shit, and they'll usually, I mean, you can feel when someone what someone thinks of this, like when you when I send someone a song. I mean, I don't do this, but or anything, you don't want their honest opinion because it will they will tell you bad things, uh,
Right.
and this might demotivate you. You know, you should better stay in your bubble for a bit until you get better or
Like
something.
this is with me, for example, now my big challenge with the writing is because I send these stories to you, I send them to all of my friends, I harass everyone with reading them. But the thing is, like, first of all, not everyone is reading a lot of stuff, and then the people that are reading a lot of stuff, they're not reading the stuff that I'm reading. So like, I don't know people would be actually the kind of audience that would like this stuff. That's number one. And number two, so they're giving me feedback and they're really honest and they're really nice about it. They give me like you tell me, okay, I like this, I don't like this, but then this advice may not be at all important. Maybe it's very important, and if it is, I don't know if it is, and if it's not, I also don't know if it's because it's like they're not people who can really judge it. It's like if you play your music to a grandma somewhere and she's like, yeah, I guess it was loud, like like the
Yeah,
stuff that she tells you, it's not
yeah,
bad. Like, yeah, I heard this and it was like this sound and like, okay, but she's not even aware. She doesn't even know what to listen to. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So what I'm doing now, for example, so I got into a couple of Facebook groups for writers, and I'm writing there, and I'm looking for because I read this in this book, this Steering Craft, like they're talking about this like peer groups, which I've never done. So always I've never gone to any course or anything. Like with everything I do, I've never really studied much anything. So which I mean, there's a whole nother topic about whether you can even learn right, from books or anything. But anyway, there seems to be some benefit in getting the right feedback from the right people. So basically, in these groups, I'm writing these posts and I'm asking for to try to gather a group of maybe 6 to 12 people that are roughly at my level and roughly around the same genre. Because again, if it's something that's completely different, it's not going to be relevant. If it's someone who's much more professional, he's going to be disappointed and feel abused. If it's someone much worse, then I'm going to be disappointed because he's not on the same level of motivation. So it has to be people roughly at the same level and a small group, 6 to 12 people. So if it's six, then if some people don't attend, then still there's a couple. If it's 12, then it's not too overwhelming and you have to listen to critique for 5 hours. And the idea is that you get on these meetings and you agree, okay, we're going to all submit shit to ourselves. We're going to have a specific word count so we don't abuse it. So everyone submits like their best excerpt or their best piece, and everyone reads it, and then everyone prepares feedback. And then what's interesting about it, like what Ursula was writing, is that when you listen to the feedback, the only rule is you're not allowed to talk. You sit quiet and you listen. It's very interesting because when you think about it, like immediately you become defensive, right? So if someone's saying, "So I'm trying to be very polite, please don't take it wrong, but this and this," and you immediately go, "Yeah, oh yeah." In the next chapter, I was explaining that, like of course, but you want to defend it immediately. The point is, don't, because what you want to know is how they felt about. Even if you explain it later, it doesn't matter if that person didn't get it. You know what I mean? So what's the point that you explain if they still didn't get it? So listen without explaining, take notes, and maybe it's relevant, maybe not, but listen to without saying anything. So, and with music, I don't know if you can replicate it. For sure you can. I mean, to have that kind of same thing with other musicians kind of giving you advice and saying, oh, that was good or that was not good or do this.
Yeah, you can if there's a scene. That's why scenes are important in anything. If there's a music scene, music it's good for everyone. For everyone, like in everything. Like they always mention this comedy store because every good comedian comes from there, and there's a scene there. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, this of course it works. It's not only feedback. It's just you see other people how they do it. The thing is their work influences yours. You see their tricks because they're kind of on your levels, so you stack on each other and you go up.
But there is a scene, right? There is a scene, Sophia. I mean, for the stuff
Music
that you.
scene, I wouldn't say no. For metal, it's I think we are the one who will start it. Hopefully, I mean not us only, but like there are some others. It's all for the last 10 years. It's been like that. That's or even more. That's the level of the Bulgarian scene. It's just almost happening, but not exactly. Rap
So
is much
what's
better here. Hip hop, Bulgarian hip hop is now there. It's the shit.
So what's missing with the metal stuff, or is it not? Is it already like kind of over and people are over it and they're into other music like
Uh,
R&B or
what do you mean? What is?
what is missing for the metal
Ah,
scene?
there's a lot of things. They're missing an audience. They're missing good content quality. They're missing good sounding guys. The thing is, in with music, with writing you don't have it, but in music you have that thing. You have you have first writers. Like
Yeah, you have a team.
they're with bands rock. Usually the writers are the same as the players, the performers. So that's the performers and the writers is one. Then you have the producer, like the guy who will take you and record your stuff, and I mean he will produce the music, so it's a product, right? So that's
Right.
another guy. Both of these guys have to be good, like the writers, performance, and the producer. Then you have the third guy, like the marketing. Actually, that's not very necessary, but the video guy who'll make the music video, because
Yeah.
now that's how stuff works now. So any of those three, it's
So
it's
what's the
not
weakest link, in
it's
your
not in a
opinion?
good. I believe right now it's the producers,
Hmm.
because the best stuff they're produced out of Bulgaria. They're like mixed, mastered out. The stuff that sounds good, but they're very expensive. People put a lot of money in that, and then they don't do anything because they're out of money.
And someone else is mixing it abroad and sending it back, or
Yeah, yeah.
really?
Whoever
Yeah.
does it in Bulgaria, it's usually not a good idea. Almost
But
every time.
how can that work? Like, don't you need that person to be like, hey, do that again, but do slow it down, or no, or you just
Um, Yeah, that's the best case when someone has a vision. Like you go to some. That's also missing. That's like the top level producer that you can hope for, which I don't even talk about that. Where yeah, they have that in the USA almost everywhere. Like where there is a scene. Like for example, like this one name is like Steve Albini or Rick Rubin. Like you go to this guy and he's like you play the songs or whatever the ideas, and he gives feedback like what to change, how to approach stuff, and it's so usually like small things that he doesn't change completely the whole but everything of course because it becomes something else. But yeah, that's stuff like that. The tempo, the add something more of that. Maybe remove this part. It's always nice to have someone with a vision outside. So yeah, that's also missing.
So why don't you become that person? Like you with
Yeah,
your
sure, I'm becoming a. Yeah, I know that's yeah. I would love to become that guy, but it has to be my way of life for a lot of time. I think I can be, and I would want to be.
what is the career path for that for such a guy? Like what does he
Uh,
do? Like does he get there?
the I don't know, just record, try, experiment.
Is the
The,
person who owns the studio or no? Or that's someone else?
the studio, yeah, it's the studio. You have to be in the studio. You're working with studio equipment. You
Yeah.
have to know
So either
how.
the studio or you own the studio. You are essentially the studio.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then
And
I presume you gotta have like I mean you gotta build that trust so people are like that's the guy to go to.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And the thing is now when someone comes, they're studios, but they have nothing behind the show, and they're like, give me 1,000 lefs,
Right.
like dollars to record one song, you know.
So what would
And
you but how would you do it? Imagine you have a studio, like you put a bunch of
I,
money,
I,
you
I would first I would record a lot of stuff until first I believe I'm good.
stuff or like friends and stuff just
Friends,
to
anyone, I would just say, come to me. And actually, I plan to do this at some point if I get there. But I'll just do this. Just come to me and I'll record it for free. Just to build a portfolio. I believe I'm also doing that in photography now. I made a page. I'm shooting for free. Like even I mean, so far
let's
no one
plug it
has
up.
written there.
Let's plug it in. You got what was the name of the page?
It's my name, photography, like Stefan Abramov.
Stefan Avramov Photography. Go to
The
Facebook,
thing
find
is,
stuff.
I never wanted, even thought about wanting money now at the level I'm in. I think I'm good, but I wanna get better. I just want I can't just say, okay, I got this camera, I got everything, now give me money, you know? And that's kind of what's happening now. It has to be the
Yeah.
opposite. You can't just throw yourself at people and say, give me that. They have to come for you and say, make this for me. How much do you want?
Mm.
So it's kind of a weird situation.
And it gives so much more than money also because if you do it like that, like I remember a quote. This is a quote from Jung I read recently. Um, he wrote, "If I mean again I'm loosely quoting, but something like if you are conscientious and true about your work, and you know if you do your work conscientiously and truly, then unknown friends will seek you. So
Yeah,
no matter how long, unknown friends will seek you.
yeah,
So it's not just about the money, but you make friends, you have like
yeah.
a community or whatever. Yeah.
It's the shit. Yeah, that's my dream to be either in photography or music, like to be the guy for that. And also not
That's
the
fuck.
guy who makes it for money, who wants a lot of money and makes people broke, you know.
You should do this. Like you, whatever you're not doing, just do that. So yeah, so you get there.
Hopefully.
Um, man, this is great. I mean, so how long have we've been going? How long is this? Almost two
Hour
hours.
and 40 minutes. Yeah, maybe we can stop now.
So it's like nicely rounded up, and then we
Yeah.
decide when we do it. When should we do it again? Like how often should we do this?
Tomorrow? No, I don't
Of
know.
course.
Maybe like once a week,
Uh,
I think.
yeah, I told you I have a thing, but I'm going to the other room.
Well, let's hope
Uh,
this one was good. We will hear it. Maybe there's another problem now. Maybe this is shit again. So, yeah.
oh, yeah, we'll figure it out. We don't want to promise things yet,
Next time.
so we figure it out. But we can do it. We can talk about shit. Like I mean, come on, we ain't got nothing better to do. Um, and yeah, guys, if you have anyone is listening to this at that point, if you want to say something, say something. Um, but yeah, man, well, I think we discussed some interesting stuff today, and I think we're coming back to this like creativity point. I had this interesting thought today, and I want to ask you, what do you think? Should should everyone try to do something creative? Like because you mentioned something earlier, and I didn't stop you. I should have. I wanted to interrupt you, but I didn't. I didn't. You said like everyone is artist now. I pick my guitar and I play, and I'm an artist. In other words, like the entry level is so easy into art because equipment is available, and with computers and everything, everyone can download a program and compose music or do photos with your phone or whatever, write on your laptop. Like everyone can do it, but should everyone do it?
Okay, let's keep that an open question and think about it. And maybe for once, come to this podcast prepared for something, you know. But it's a nice question. We should.
Yeah, I think we should investigate this. And I think
Yeah.
there are a couple of things we should investigate. This thing, then how do we, like the AI and the simulations theory, that's the most important one. How do we break out of the simulation? So, yeah, another thing, we talked about Westworld, which was interesting. In the last episode, the 3.2 episode, spoiler alert, if anyone is still watching the third season and doesn't want to get spoiled, don't listen to this now.
No, I don't care.
But no, it's
You
not.
can spoil it for me.
But I told you about this. So the spoiler was that there's this moment in which Maeve, one of the characters, she's in a simulation, and she discovers that actually, well, because it looks like Westworld, well, it's actually Worlds, War World or something they call. It's like a World War II part of the park. So it's another park that's World War II themed. It was shot in Spain in some small town. But anyway, so she figures out it's not actually the park, but it's a simulation of the park, right? And then once she knows it's a simulation, she looks into some devices because it's a simulation of Westworld. So some of the guys have like these tablets that they interact, right? So she looks at the tablet and says, fucking idiots. They use the same code inside the simulation as in the real world. So she hacks out. Somehow well, first she overclocks the system, but she hacks out with this way by knowing. So I wanted to ask you as a programmer, if we were in a simulation, but we've been out, like in her case, she's been out into the real world. Like imagine we realize, oh shit, it's a simulation. But then I know that for now this is a simulation now, but yesterday wasn't. For some reason, I have definite evidence that yesterday was a real world, but today someone's done something to me, right? Someone caught me, put me in a simulation just today. It's a perfect simulation of the next day from yesterday, which was the real world. But then I find out that my computer is still using the same code that the real world is using. So can I hack my way out of it like she did? Like, how does that work?
It's weird because maybe there's a paradox in all of this. Because our world is made of atoms and molecules, right?
Yeah.
So how can you simulate that and make it smaller? That's impossible, right? You have to create another planet that's next to ours.
No, you do it in a virtual reality. It's not.
Yeah, but in a virtual reality you have bytes.
Yeah.
You don't have molecules.
So in other words,
So you can't really make the same code.
so it's big,
Like you can't really this.
right? Because one bit, like the
It's what?
smallest amount of information, it's one photon, for example.
Yeah.
So then you need as many bits as you have photons. Is there any calculation if you Google how many photons we have in the universe?
The thing is, in one bit there's several photons probably, or several whatever. It's bigger.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I get what you're saying, but still,
But
to encode one
does that
photon,
make sense?
the thing is
Because I
to
know that these guys are smart, the writers.
you see, but the thing is, so what I told you, you'll get to it maybe. Like you'll have to create another planet that's next to ours, because for each photon we'll encode one photon, right?
I get you, yeah.
So
Someone was saying that, yeah, in order to have a simulation as realistic as this universe, you need another universe to kind of
yeah,
support that in a way. Yeah, I know. Yeah, this has been discussed, but let's assume that in this case it's like the park, like the Westworld. In other words, it's just a part.
let's assume it's quantum.
Let's assume because now it's the quarantine is now, so whoever
No, the qua
someone hijacked me and only simulated my apartment. So now there's nothing outside. It looks like, but whatever. There's nothing. So because it's smaller than the real universe, it's just my room. Uh, it's possible to have it in, I don't know, one planet can or one galaxy, let's say.
Well, yeah, in that case, if it's the same code, if it's also molecules and atoms, sure, you can escape the room. Why not, right? But if it's something different,
Can I like how can I break out? I don't understand how can I.
just open the door.
No, no, no,
You
no.
know?
No, imagine it's virtual. So this is like the bit to photon relation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Uh,
just by I don't understand what I'm trying to say is I don't understand what they were thinking
the thing
about
is,
this bit.
you have to project yourself in some way to the real world where there are not we're not we there are no bits here. Like so this bit will have to become something else here, right?
Yeah,
You know.
like
So
yeah, the photons or whatever. So my bits here would
so
have to become
so it will be something else. It will be more like cloning or what should happen?
yeah. So in her case, for example, she had this tiny bowl where her consciousness is. So her consciousness was suspended. So like in the Matrix, that she's plugged in. In this thing. So she's dreaming,
Yeah, yeah.
and she gets into the outside world through this mainframe.
Yeah, but what does this mean? Like her photons became what? They were simulated photons that were photons,
No,
but
her
in the real
if her
world.
consciousness was suspended.
No, because you asked me if that was possible. I'm trying to to explain how would it be possible.
Okay, I guess
That was your question,
I
right?
guess there yeah I guess there are two different questions here though. So let's decide which one. You tell me which one you like more. In the first case, we have only my consciousness is taken away and is put into this simulation, but my body is somewhere else lying unconscious and I'm hooked up to machines. In the other case, I don't have a body. I'm an NPC, right? I exist only in the simulation. So which one of these two, but in both cases, the computers in my reality, where my either my consciousness or my complete existence is the virtual reality, in both cases, the code in the computers in this reality is the same as the code in the real world that created it. So which one of these two scenarios would you like to examine, I guess, to break out of? Which one would be easier to break out of?
Aren't they the same?
No, because in one of them, someone managed to take all my conscious,
Take
like
the
a dream, take my consciousness and throw
okay,
it.
but
In the other one, I'm completely
yeah,
created inside the simulation. I don't exist outside.
yeah, exactly. So I was talking about the second case until now.
Was that
I was talking about the second case until now, I think.
which one? With nobody or?
Yeah, where
So
it's
let's go on.
called.
Imagine I don't exist. I've never been in the real world. I've only been
So
created completely in the virtual reality. So yeah. So like you say, I need to find an analog to like copy my.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but
The
before,
thing is, it won't be you, right? I mean, it will be something in the real world,
yeah, it would
right?
be a copy of me or like a what do you
Yeah, a
this?
clone.
Yeah, it would be an equivalent of me, but made of something else.
If that's the way it works, maybe. But otherwise, it won't be. It will be the same world, right? If you kind of jump out of it, it won't be exactly a simulation. It will be the same world on different place. I don't know. Have to define stuff more.
Anyway,
Simulation means not exactly real, right? Like, you know, I, I don't know.
yeah, and oh yeah, that's the other thing, right? Because always what I never understood about this. Well, I understand it from the perspective of a movie maker. Like if someone is making a
Yeah,
movie, you need actors, you need people. So they make this assumption, like the simulation and the real world, everything looks the same, but it doesn't have to be. It could be like in writing. Like if you read these sci-fi authors, they write about simulations that are conceptual. Like they're not like the way that we have games like The Witcher. The Witcher is a more simple creature than we are, right? We are made of cells, and in the cells we got the chemistry, like everything I talked about. The Witcher has got a certain amount of bits, like it's
yeah.
just and then it has this outer layer and it has a couple of like colors, and you can change the clothes, but it doesn't have bones, it doesn't have muscles, it doesn't like the level of
It's just like if you imagine like we're in the 3D world, he's in the 2D world,
yeah,
right?
like a
He's missing the
yeah.
whole dimension.
So in that case,
Uh,
like his equivalent in our world would also have to be like super simple, like some fucking ant or some shit. Like The Witcher escape.
so it won't be him exactly. I know it's weird.
Yeah.
It's such a mind
Yeah, because
Agnostic.
that's interesting, right? Because a Witcher is something that exists in the game, and the rules of the game, the rules of simulation make sense. But in our world, it makes no sense because such a creature couldn't exist. A creature
Yeah.
without I don't know, breathing,
Yeah.
without eating,
Yeah.
without all these functions that life here needs, right?
Yeah.
If you print out a 3D printed version of the
Yeah.
which looks exactly like him, the same layers, the same amount of texture, whatever detail, but it doesn't breathe and doesn't move in our world. It's just in our world. You need some internal combustion engine, something that will fucking make it
Yeah,
move.
I think yeah, yeah. In this case, yeah. But what your question was, is there a case where that's not the case? You know, where
No,
is the movie case?
my initial case in the very beginning was like
Movie.
how can you connect through a computer in the simulation and in the outside if the code is the same? Because in the Westworld episode, the
Yeah, that's
very
what I mean.
thing with the code, because Maeve would have never escaped if it wasn't the code. Like she sees, she says, "Oh, it's the same code, so therefore I can
What?
escape."
What? So she went to a real life robot or what?
Yeah, yeah.
Huh?
And
So
that
she
robot
was a
took
simulated.
herself and stole it, and then she was gonna clone like create a new body for herself and put this in.
So she. Okay, I see. So. Hmm.
It's possible, yes, right? I mean, if the simulation is a program on your computer, then
Yeah.
it exists in the same proximity again with access to the internet, so you can upload. Then access another program like the program that's running this other robot that stole her.
Well,
So
that's kind of what they're doing with robots, maybe. You know, they simulate stuff before they build it. They simulate how a robot behaves.
that's such an interesting thought. How do we know? Like when we were talking about there are different levels of consciousness, right? Like an animal has a consciousness at a different level than us, right? What if robot? I have to go to sleep. What if robot?
God damn it.
It's my
Oh,
alarm.
this means we'll get disconnected. It's time to finish.
Yeah. Okay. We're ending this on this. What if the robots have some consciousness? They have dreams. They have thoughts, but they're so different than what we have that we can't even. Or do they? Or maybe they
I
don't.
can tell you right now they don't. Maybe in the future they will. Right now they don't. But in the future, if they do, then what you're saying is
I don't know. But why do they not? Like don't they? Like
because
for
I know no now not no no now
when
they're pretty
it's happening on the
stupid.
background, like a processing, something is happening, some function.
I can tell you some of it, like not that I can go much deeper, but the way it works, they give you a function. I mean, actually no, they look for the function. The
Who's
way
they?
they teach them, uh, the thing is, the function is the robot basically. His consciousness is a function. In like the example is the function. Let's say the function says, okay, there is a wall in front now. So the function has to decide what to do. Like the parameter is a wall in front of me. So the function says, stop, don't bump into it, right? So they
Hmm.
have to create this function, the way how, what should it do, uh, given some parameters, like given ABC, like the distance, the height of the wall, the function should say what to do in that case, the result, right?
Hmm.
So the things they feed it a lot of data in the results. Like if there's this should be the result. They have a lot of tests, like that's the learning stage. They give it like in images. That's how they teach robots for images. They give it like a million images of dogs and tell them this is a dog. The point in this is when they give the next image that they're not sure what it is. This function it it's got created from the sample data and now it can tell you is this a dog or not. But they're not exactly sure what it's there in that function.
Hmm.
They know that they've taught it with a lot of data
Hmm.
because the
Well,
way the algorithm that makes these functions it's weird. It has a lot of like switches. It's very complicated and no one creates functions out of the blue like that. They just feed it data. The thing is they know that the function learns. They can create functions from learning, so they feed it a lot of data and results. They say doc. Then they ask what is this now? I don't know this. You tell me. You know.
hmm.
So it's not exactly a consciousness. It's some function that has some logic inside.
Well,
But
here's consciousness for
it's
us.
not exactly human created, this
Yeah,
function.
but
It's
here's what
just
consciousness, for example, for us would be. And my question is there a moment, if not at the moment, then will there be a moment like this in the future where that would happen? So for us, for example, if a human was doing this and someone was like showing dogs, then that human at the end of the day, when he goes sleeping, he'll dream of dogs. You know what I mean? He'll be like, oh, there's these fucking dogs on my eyes.
yeah, but he has
So
to sleep,
does the
right?
robot dream of dogs? And if
The
not, then
robot
will he ever dream of dogs?
right now he doesn't because they don't sleep. They just take data and give results.
Yeah,
That's
but it's just that one
the
layer. Nothing happens below it. Nothing, no
they just
abstract over
get
it.
parameters and give results.
Because maybe consciousness is an abstraction of this function. Like you have the function, but then you have like a different layer to it that you know.
Yeah, we are. You can always deconstruct everything to that. We're also we get parameters and we give results, right? You get parameters about your surroundings and you do something about it.
Right.
It affects you, but it's super complicated. At our stage, maybe it's consciousness somewhere there it evolves. But right now, robots are they're not that special right now. Then they do some very specific tasks right now. You train them for something specific, like to recognize images or to walk around some terrain,
Mhm.
but or to translate stuff. But it's not like I don't know.
What would
I
happen?
wouldn't say
If you had
they
a
dream
robot
right now. It
What
doesn't
would
make
happen?
sense right now.
What would happen if you had a robot that had like all the functions in it, like fucking gazillion functions, and then you
You wanted the things you want the robot to get other functions that you didn't expect or
right?
want, right?
Yeah. Can you ask him create a function now? Since
So
we've
I'm
given
saying
some
now there is no such thing. I don't think there is such thing right now. But in the future, maybe
Mm,
there will be.
right.
But
That's interesting.
I
And
don't
then
know. I don't know.
yeah.
And
Bec-
then we're replaced.
well, anyway, man, we talked so long. We can maybe take a break.
Yeah, yeah,
But this was nice, and I think we touched on so many very important things that we'll keep coming back to this over and over again. I think the point is we could just repeat this over and over.
or yeah,
And
just upload the same episode next time.
yeah, let's just talk about. Let's just listen to it 5 times and then try to get it until we get it right.
Yeah,
Um, it's like that. These Facebook. It's like a function. Like like just repeat the whole episode.
or like Picasso.
Like these guys that like същата картинка на Milko Kojic every single day. That this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah. What is
Yeah.
this language you just spoke? I didn't understand it at all.
Functions, yeah. But man,
Every day the same image of Eminem or someone.
yeah, this sort of stuff. Every day the same podcast. But yeah, man, this is cool. So yeah, whoever's listening, if anyone's listening, thanks guys. And if you have any questions, let us know. And Stifter, thanks, man. This is cool. Let's keep doing this and
Yeah,
see
let's
when
keep
we
doing
we
this.
pass this time. Peace out. Bye bye.
Peace out.